Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WGLNA. We're about ready for the final matchup tonight. That's the Cunninghams versus Penguin Mafia. I'm Joshua Gray, joined as always by Randall Holcomb. And we're excited to bring you this match because now we have a veteran team versus a team first time in the Gold League that has tried over and over again to make it, and now they're finally here.
They did it. Took them a few seasons. They're here. And last time we saw them was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was very impressive that we saw them last night. As a reminder, make sure to follow us on Twitter at WGLNA, Facebook.com/WGLNA, and use that hashtag WGLNA so we can find your tweets and put them up on the broadcast.
Yep. And don't forget about the question of the day. Why will your favorite team be joining us at our season finals? Tell us why you think Simple Tankers is going to do it. After that last match, I'd say you have some pretty strong arguments in favor.
Yeah, it's very impressive. It's great to see him back here in the Gold League. Our finals will be taking place in San Francisco on March 15th. The prize pool, $171,000. You definitely want to make it. It's going to be happening at the Folsom Street Foundry. It's taking place on a Sunday. So make sure to mark your calendars and join us. We'll have some special prizes. A lot of folks from Wargaming will be there. Every single season final has been a great time. All the players will tell you that. So we're looking forward to it as well. We're happy that we get to announce it at the very beginning of the season. Our face-off is ready between our two teams. Let's go ahead and welcome the two team representatives. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
All right, hey, Martin, let's start with you. We had a nice little interview coming from you when you visited the studio earlier on. Well, it just feels like a couple weeks ago.
What is that?
What is?
It is that.
What is that?
It's the only thought. But really, what is it?
Wow. Okay. All right, hey, Martin. What is the mentality of the Cunninghams moving into Season 5 with this new format?
It's a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Going in, I had a lot of concerns about the new format. A lot of things I felt were a lot less balanced than they actually are. So actually right now I'm just feeling pretty good about the format. You know, got a lot of work to do. Getting used to having that many tanks with guns on the battlefield. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The match against Hammer Time was super exciting. We made a lot of mistakes, but we pulled out a victory in the tiebreaker, and we're feeling pretty good.
I was hoping you could answer a question for me that I'm not confident in, and we saw this kind of answered maybe in our last battle, but why do people bring tanks like the T-54 Lightweight over the RU-251?
Because they don't know better.
Okay. So there's no reason you can think of?
So I've heard a couple arguments. One was that it'll not get hit as hard by Hesh to counter an RU, and the other one was it'll bounce rounds if you're like in the defilade on Muravanka by the red line. But no. Basically no. I mean, at this point in the meta, on all the open maps, you have to have a really strong argument not to take an RU. That tank is so strong, so flexible. You have to have a really, really strong argument to take something over an RU. A 54 Lightweight is just like a slower, lower DPM version of an RU. There's no advantage.
Well, thanks for your thoughts on that, A. Martin. We'll continue to watch and see different tank lineups that are brought here on the battlefield. Let's check in with Penguin Mafia. Canadian Mono, last night we saw some exceptional play coming from you against Timed Out. However, you're facing a veteran team. Is the pressure higher today compared to last night?
I'm not going to lie, it's definitely a bit better than last night. We're definitely a bit more prepared, seeing as how that was our first match in the Gold League period. But a few thoughts floated across our minds that this will be our first actual opponent in the Gold League. I mean, we have fought Game Over before in the past, several times. So we have never fought Cunninghams before. You
have been aggressive as the defenders, and that continues to catch teams off guard. Why is it that you've chosen that type of player? Is that the caller's call to make that at the beginning of the match?
It's just a more unorthodox tactic. It usually catches people off guard when they're positioning to break turtles, which is usually what you see, especially in the previous season. A lot of defensive strategies are within 4 blocks of central cap zone. So if you can push when you get an overmatch when they're positioning, get vision on you, then it's usually pretty easy for everything to fall into place.
All right, well said. Canadian Mono, any words for Cunninghams before we start?
It'll be a pleasure to fight you tonight, win or lose.
Hey, Martin? I think he muted his mic.
Did I mute my mic?
No, you're good.
I'm good?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, no, good luck, and I guess just stay focused. You know, we hope we're a little bit of a bigger challenge than Timed Out was for you last night. So.
Oof, okay. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Good luck. We'll see you on the battlefield. All right. Well, it's good to get some insight from A. Martin on that tank. And it was funny. I remember when he was here at the studio, I brought up Artie because I said, "Oh, I think Artie's going to be using this format." And no. And certain teams will have that mentality. There's nothing wrong with it if they can back it up.
Mm-hmm. And with the Artie thing, there was a reason to believe that.
Sure.
Artie, from what we first got introduced to as World of Tanks, at least, almost a year ago, maybe? I don't remember.
Over a year ago.
Over the year, the Artie patch.
Yeah.
No
more team bison.
Like a year and a half ago, the artillery patch where we changed, a lot of the tier 4 to tier 5 or tier 6, or we moved everything up so it costs more in the format. And then they nerfed them. So in the format, things were thrown off. Artillery that used to be really good for their tier and worth the points were no longer. And then they were made more costly, but the balance decision wasn't from the format standpoint, it was for general gameplay. And it made sense then. It makes sense there, but it kind of messed us up. And so artillery has always, from that point on, been a hesitant choice.
Yeah, it wasn't a viable option. We had a better option.
Yeah.
Now, because of the format changes and the tank lineup changes, we're starting to see more of the presence there. And I'm really excited to see that type of play because it is a very different type of style of playing. And as we look forward to more, maybe some crazy lineups, especially if we see top tier coming on the broadcast here pretty soon for next week. I'm looking forward to that as well. Betting begins now. Betting is open at the beginning of every single battle. If you need help or to understand what betting is, ask the people in Twitch chat. If you don't want to bet, it's fine. You can close Twitch chat. You don't have to participate. But the top leaders every night have a chance to win a prize. And one of those prizes tonight is a gift Jinx for $50. And this is a very special sale for the holidays from Jinx in 3 different packages. You buy the lounge shorts, you get 7 days of premium. You get 3 tees or hats, you get 7 days of premium and 1,000 gold. You get the Commander jacket, you get a Dicker Max, a free garage slot, and 1,000 gold. Great sale happening from our friends at Jinx. Check them out, jinx.com, and click on the World of Tanks section of the store.
I didn't actually know about those. So wait, keep that up for a second.
Sure.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Some great gifts around the holidays as well. Let's go ahead and check the rosters for these 2 teams as we get more familiar with who's on Penguin Mafia. Cunninghams, we've seen them since the very beginning.
Yeah, but they've added Dodoma, and they've brought Militant 83 back. So big moves right there. 2 huge players for the Cunninghams. I think that should do well as long as they fit back in with the team. Penguin Mafia, always looking out for Wolf Knife Laserbacon. He is on my fantasy team.
Oh, I love that name, too. I don't know if I'd name my son that, but maybe your son, Wolf Knife Laserbacon Rookhill.
I would name my son Wolf Knife Laserbacon. And I would change my name to Wolf Knife Laserbacon so I could name him Wolf Knife Laserbacon II.
We'll see how the rest of Penguin Mafia does up against this veteran team as we move into battle number 1, taking place on Cliff. Cunninghams versus Penguin Mafia. What do we have for tanks?
All right, looks like Blaze Zero has not connected his Pershing yet. That's Penguin Mafia. They're going to have Pershing, 2 1390s, RU-251, T-49, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. There he is. There's Blaze Zero. He is now connected. For the Cunninghams, 4 RU-251s. I think A. Martin has a favorite tank, T-49, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs. So, no surprise there after his answer in the interview. He's gonna go heavy on the RUs.
We're watching A. Martin and Commander J in the front. Commander J, one of the top performers and MVP of one of our seasons for the WGLNA. Shot fired towards armor. It is not a connection, and that RU-251 is going to hug one of the rocks as we see sometimes the no man stand between.
What's Dodo gonna find? Looks like
here.
Scrublet.
Ooh, big shot from Dodoma.
481.
And that's why I love the T-49. It's a little, hey, how you doing, right in the front. And that's going to bring Scrublet down almost to half health.
Yep, that's actually not as much damage as you would expect in that situation even.
Militant gets hit for 529 and a volley. About 2 shots there. Scrublet gets hit from further away, and he's going to fall back. That's some low HP from Penguin Mafia here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not looking good. Their positions right now do not have as much control as the Cunninghams. The Cunninghams should dominate this battle simply due to their positions. They have middle control. Their opponent must react to all of these positions, and they have nothing that I can see which is going to dig this out or begin any kind of an engagement at an advantage. Blaze Zero is about to get caught out. The minute Dodoma's loaded, I expect him to go down. Anyone else could take him down, though.
Scrublet one shot away from falling. Blaze Zero has been getting hit, but he returns fire and answers toward Commander J. Dodoma fires. 491 in that shot does not close down Blaze Zero, but here's the trigger pull coming from Penguin Mafia.
I think this is just a push where you're saying, we have so many damage tanks, we must go and we must start a fight because the situation is not getting better.
Armor takes a shot from up top on Militant. These two tanks from up above will continue to be a threat, but they're focusing on the tanks down below. Comms to Dodoma take down Armor and Scrublet. Laxbra returning fire towards Militant, and Canadian Mono's going to go up against Comms. Comms trapped away. Insult. The tank Triumph is able to get the kill, finally against Comms. And Canadian Cracker fires back towards Jerem, but he could be the next one to go down, and he is. Trireme gets that kill. Two tanks remain. Big shot coming from Dodoma, that T-49, and now Triumph. The Insult tank's the last tank alive here, as 4 tanks from the Cunninghams are ready to clean this up.
All right, looks like maybe Dodoma will be the closest one, and that was it. That was Cunninghams. Better position. Penguin Mafia makes a push out of desperation, really realizing this situation is not getting any better.
And Dodoma on the move, and the T-49 gets the shot and the kill. Cunninghams take battle number 1. We got to check out the stats for Dodoma to see how much damage he did. That was impressive.
That was. All right, looking at those post-game stats, nice. 1,923 damage. Every single shell from Dodoma connecting, which is completely absurd. Absolutely insane and unheard of, because this is a T-49 firing at 200 plus meters. This makes no sense. Have you seen the reticle on that tank?
It is very, very large. When I first played the T-49, I went, I think I forgot to put equipment on this tank. My reticle's very, very large. And then I went back, oh no, it's part of the accuracy of the tank. So this is very impressive. I have to commend Penguin Mafia here of making the choice to attack, because if they try to play the long-range game, they were losing already. They go in for the aggressive move, but Dodoma and Militant 83 have such a great high ground. They're able to continually fire. Dodoma, I don't think, took really any damage in this entire engagement.
No one seemed to care about him. He was not the biggest and most immediate threat. So go for whatever you find, try and go, focus it, whatever. Didn't work, though, because Penguin Mafia didn't have the hit points. They did not have the tank numbers. They did not have the position. They didn't have anything. And I think they knew what they were getting into. They didn't expect to win. They just knew they had to do something now, or their chances were only going to get worse.
Sure. Well, that's only battle number 1. Anything is still possible between these two teams, but so far we're seeing a classic style of Cunninghams. Penguin Mafia, type of adjustments they need to make. That northern position, trying to take the high ground, is proving to be difficult for a lot of these teams. And then since they have like 1 or 2 steps away or 1 or 2 grid points away to try to long-range fire, they're not getting the engagements that they want. So the next movement, the next position, the next choice they have to make, it's up in the air. We're seeing teams kind of vie for the east side sometimes, or try to get an overmatch on the west on the 1 line. So I think Penguin Mafia is going to really change this up for Battle 2.
I would hope they do, because not taking as much control as their opponent is going to hurt them if they attempt it again. Looking at the tanks, Penguin Mafia will be bringing a Pershing again, 2 1390s, 2 RU-251s, a T-49, and a T-37. On the other side, the Cunninghams going for 4 RU-251s, that T-49 for the middle, played by Dodoma, and a Martin with Trireme and M41 Walker Bulldogs.
Looking at the opening movement coming from the Cunninghams in the red, the attackers. Going for the same opening, it looks like. At least the same road, not really any contention happening on the 1 line.
Want to look at something real quick, and that is that Scrublet doesn't bring a rammer on his T-49. He actually brings vents, gun laying drive, and vertical stabilizer. So he's actually going for accuracy and not trying to get shells out faster. He only wants to make that shell connect.
Armor hit on the side along with Canadian Mono as they move towards the donut. Laxbra gets hit for 226. Dodoma, however, gets shot for 371 from Scrublet.
And he misses the shell to reply to Scrublet.
He's going to have to fall back. Comps, Militant, and Germ sitting down below in the center section, and they're going to move their turrets into the center congregation of tanks of Canadian Cracker and Blaze Zero. Shot from Militant to the front. That is absorbed by the armor. Bounces off the M26 Pershing. Big shot from Dodoma against Scrublet. That's 798 damage in that volley.
And to the west, Canadian Mono is able to take down Trireme. Now only a Martin remains against armor and Canadian Mono.
Scrublet goes down from Commander J. Now Dodoma's going to push forward. He's going to get behind Blaze Zero. He sees the shot. fires a Canadian Cracker, almost takes him down, and he goes down. Triumph, the insult tank, excuse me, is now contesting up against German. He's going to get surrounded by Dodoma. And here comes Canadian Mono in armor. They're focusing on Comps, who's very low. Shot fire from Canadian Mono. It is a miss. Armor misses as well. Comps stays alive.
Wow, that's going to hurt. That could have been a point to come back with, but not anymore. Canadian Mono remains. A lot of missed shells, but...
A lot of missed shells on both sides here. Another missed shell from Commander J, barely scraping by.
They're playing with him. Okay.
And Canadian Mono gets the kill against German. That's it. Cunninghams take battle number 2 with 2 tanks remaining. Scrublet had a really big opening shot, but then after that, fell apart.
And when you saw that west side movement from the 2 RU-251s, that was Armor and Canadian Mono, between the 2 of them, they do take on the the M41 Walker Bulldogs, yes, but you know that there's an overmatch on Penguin Mafia. They don't have the resources left in the east to deal with what Cunninghams have. And so Cunninghams recognize this immediately. That's the trigger, and they begin the attack. It's not very complicated from then on because it's really just bigger tanks brawling it out and a lot of running into each other. I think the Cunninghams recognized they had a win at about right towards the tail end when you saw the 2 RUs come over to the fight.
Yeah, when that Western engagement was won, once they swept in, it was over from there.
Yeah.
An update on the match between Simp and Top Tier. Simp has won the series 5-2 against Top Tier, so that's another victory for them. So they are 2-0 this week.
Not bad.
So far. Top Tier had a tiebreaker loss, I believe, against Roulette earlier from yesterday. Let me check real quick on that result. That was from, yes, Roulette. That was Roulette. They lost in a tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So I believe in the stances now, the winner of a tiebreaker gets 2 points, and the loser of the tiebreaker gets 1 point. The winner of a first of 5 win takes 3 points. The loser takes 0 points.
Yeah. That's how it breaks down, I guess. It's not as punishing as last time where you would get 1 point, I guess. Bumping it up a little bit makes some kind of sense with the way the format goes. The fact that it's not, no, neither of you could win. This is kind of a punishment, as the tiebreaker was. Now it's we just have to have a winner.
We have to have a winner. You couldn't do it in 5, so you're able to do it in the tiebreaker. 2 points for you, 1 point for the loser. The points are very important because that's how we determine who goes to the finals in our 8-week series of matches here. And here we go. Battle number 3 between Cunninghams and Penguin Mafia. What do we have for tanks?
We have a T-69, 313-90s, a single RU-251, a T-49, and a T-37 for Penguin Mafia. Little bit of a change up there. The other side, Cunninghams, same lineup. 4 RU-251s, a T-49, and 2 M41 Walker Bulldogs played by A. Martin and Trireme. 2 of them kind of sticking together from what I've seen.
The spread happening from the red team, it looks like some one-line possible aggression for 3 of the tankers. And Cunninghams are staying together, going for the same tactic except on the other side in that center hill area.
It's a strong play, and they've got the fast lineup to enable them. Now the other side, Penguin Mafia, is going for a split, and instead is sending Triumph to the west with Canadian and Armor, which, if they are discovered, might not go so well for them because the Cunninghams
Oh, Dodoma on the T-49 takes down Lax Braun, 1 shot.
Oh my gosh. At ammo rack?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Blaze Zero, Canadian Mono, and Scrublet try to push up against the rock. And Commander J, German Militant, are going to push up against Blaze Zero and Canadian Mono. Scrublet in the T-49 tries a big shot against Commander J. No, he actually shoots towards German. It's a miss. Canadian Mono takes out Commander J, but Dodoma from up top cleans that up. German Militant are now going to engage in what's left of Penguin Mafia as they have 2 tanks down, but so does Cunninghams. Dodoma takes some serious damage, but A. Martin takes down Triumph. A. Martin's in some trouble, though. His Armor's going to push up.
Yeah, A. Martin did an excellent job just a moment ago, but now this fight is getting very split up. We're going to have Armor way out in the middle of nowhere. We're going to have Scrubble and Blaze Zero together taking down Germ. This can go either direction at this point because of just how insane it is, but the Cunninghams are together. That's the important part right now.
Dodoma destroys Armor. Huge blow, and now it's 3 versus 3. Dodoma's very, very low. They want to try to keep this T-49 guarded as much as possible. RU-251 for Militant. 83 fires, misses.
And Dodoma is at 1 shot. Scrublet is as well. Both of these T-49s, as long as they're a gun in the game, as long as they're alive, they will be just so dangerous. And one connection from either of these is probably going to decide the game. If Dodoma connects in just a moment onto Blaze or Canadian, or even onto Scrublet, I think I'll call it a victory at that point.
Oh, he fires and he misses, but they know he's up top. Canadian Cracker's still hugging that wall, and Scrublet's going to try to push up the T49. Comps trying to hold back. Takes a shot in the front from the 1390. Militant 83 fires from afar. That one does not connect. Comps is in trouble.
Scrublet misses.
Oh, that would have been a big shot, but Comps does fall. But Dodoma from up top takes down Canadian Crackers down 2-2. And look at the T49s, almost identical. And same for the RU-251 and the T69. Militant 83 lands a shot.
Militant needs to go forward and start playing the strafe game. He can't afford to sit there 1v1 against him.
Dodoma's lining up from up top, fires for 331. But Scrublet is moving up to the hill, and he fires into the dirt. Militant 83 needs one more shot to take down the T69, who's currently reloading, and he gets it. It's up to Scrublet and the T49 for Penguin Mafia. Dodoma's pushing up. He wants the kill against Scrublet. Dodoma cruising around the corner, fires it, he gets it. Dodoma is on fire in the T49.
Amazing connections. Right at the end, though, Penguin Mafia's T49 just kind of made this weird move on the side of that cliff. Oy, just little things here. Little misses, little connections. Canadian Cracker, though, on the side of Penguin Mafia, did an excellent job. 2,689 damage that battle. I have to give him a lot of credit here. But Dodoma, you're right. 7 shots fired, 6 for 6. Not bad at all.
And the penetration, almost 2,000 damage.
He is absolutely wrecking. I wish I had put him on my fantasy team at this point, because that is insane damage numbers that he's putting up. Not one battle, every battle he's putting up great damage.
And that first shot, too, that shut down that tank, I believe it was Laxbra earlier on. Just one shot taking him out. Dodoma is performing so well with this tank, and he's staying alive, too. And he's in such a prime position due to his HP, and he lines up this hit against Blaze Zero. It doesn't knock out the T69, but does significant damage for Militant to get confident enough to push up against him.
And notice who the 2 players from Cunninghams are that are alive. Militant 83 and Dodoma. Those are 2 players that if I were on the Cunninghams and I had to pick 2 guys to just be alive at the end of a battle, that would be it. Dodoma, Militant. Both excellent players.
We also need to recognize that it is coming down. It came really close to the wire for the Cunninghams against Penguin Mafia there. Penguin Mafia has been continually pushing into the brawls against the Cunninghams.
Yeah.
And I feel that Penguin Mafia will still learn from the Cunninghams because they're engaging in these brawls and seeing what's going wrong instead of playing these long-range games and then losing towards the end of more of a desperation type play.
Precisely. And what's wonderful is they're pulling the trigger right when it needs to happen, recognize the overmatch and making a fight. It's working every time. Cunninghams this time will be bringing 4 RU-251s, that T49, and 41 Walker Bulldogs. Same lineup as every time. It works. Don't change it. Other side, Penguin Mafia, T69, 31390s, RU-251, T49, T37. Same lineup as last time. They think they can make it work. They have burst. All they need to do is start a real fight, start a real brawl, and focus down the tanks that matter. And I think that the Penguin Mafia can win. Just stop splitting their forces as much. They have an advantage in a fight if they can start it early. That's all they need to do.
Looking at Comps' approach here in the RU-251, climbing up the mountain slowly in comparison to Penguin Mafia, using that one line and then coming up on the road that was added in the last patch change when it came to maps here for Cliff.
And on the opening run, Canadian Mono misses a shot at a Trireme, who moves at the perfect time. And returning fire, no connections yet. Scrublet, surprise, is going to show up for Trireme. Hello.
Big shot coming out from Scrublet, and Trireme gets hit for 442.
Yep, that was a cute move. Canadian Mono peeking out, gets spotted, right? Says, it's just me, it's only me looking here, shooting at this corner, I'm not a big threat. T49 just kind of moves on up. Canadian Mono, while spotted, moves back. That will prompt one of the tanks, Trireme, to move out to try and get that shot that parting shot. Surprise, surprise, there's a T49 there instead, who was not spotted, meaning he just didn't know he was there.
But now
Cute little play.
Now German, the RU-251, is going to get closer to cover Trireme as he moves away from the donut, and now he's going to get up top to be able to still scout the movement coming from Penguin Mafia here. Cunninghams, because they're on the defense, do not have to engage against Penguin Mafia. For any new watchers, viewers here, new audience members, make sure to hit that follow button on our Twitch page as well so you get an update when we go live. But the defenders do not have to destroy all the tanks to win necessarily. They just have to make sure that their flag caps are safe and secure by the time the timer goes to 0. But hey, why not destroy all the enemy tanks as well? The tank aside works.
It works, yeah.
For
oh, hey, look at that spot Germ's in. That's nice.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a little while. I was wondering when we'd see people start playing the Mountain Goat game again.
Well, he's hanging out. And that proxy spotting. 50 meters is automatic spotting for tanks here.
He's not quite, I think.
No, he's not. But
Yeah.
as soon as Canadian Mono probably gets as close to this wall or this tree,
The next corner, a little closer than that.
Yeah.
I
right
played
here?
around with that, so the
Right here?
distance, yeah, about right there.
All right.
Yeah, that's about the spot, 50 meters. And then, surprisingly, you can get towards the middle of that hill before you'll be proxy lit.
Just take a look at the rest of the positioning here from the Cunninghams. They have the lighthouse secured. If they need to light that for Pete's Dragon to come in, save Elliot, they can do it.
Really, John?
Yes,
You did just go there.
I did.
Wow. Okay, I'll take that, but I'm moving on. Laxbra is in the northwest, and that T-37 is actually in a really cute position. If you take a look, you see where Comps is, and you see where everyone is on the hill. Laxbra is actually...
shot fired from that either T-37 or towards that T-37.
It is the T-37.
Okay.
I don't know who he's firing at. I don't know if anyone's spotted. It seems like that's unlikely due to the positioning of Penguin Mafia.
Ooh, Blaze Zero takes a hit.
Oh, yeah.
Must have come from comps there.
Oh. And Comps is taking a hit as well. Laxbra is trying to put out some damage and pressuring, which is actually forcing the Cunninghams away from their own cap.
3 minutes and 25 seconds. Penguin Mafia have a little bit of time to make a decision here, and Germ is getting lit up. He takes a hit and moves from that position as quickly as he can because Blaze Zero and Armor
It is again
pushed
Laxbra.
up.
Again, Laxbra putting out a little damage and scaring someone out of their position.
Still, Cunninghams maintaining this defensive posture on the higher ground. Waiting for the red team to push up.
I'm waiting for them to pressure the cap. That T-37 could jump on there and just start doing it. They just need to get Comps out of there. Just pressure Comps a little bit more, force him back, put Laxbra on the cap for a little bit, try and make that work. Now, tanks on the hill might be able to snipe it out, yes, but that's pressure. And Penguin Mafia could use that as a distraction while everyone's looking that way to make something happen in the west. We've got a number of tanks in Echo 3 looking towards the hill.
Comps takes a hit for 100. Triumph still hanging back behind the house here. The amount of HP that is dinging back and forth between these teams, still defender's advantage happening here. There's a big, long T-49 shot from Dodoma, but that slow-moving shell does not connect with the T-37. Militant 83 in the RU-251 is trying to track that T-37. Close shot, but does not connect.
Laxbra turned at the perfect moment to avoid that shot. That was impressive. Nice heads-up play from Laxbra. He's going to get back on the cap, continue to be a distraction, a little itch in the back of their head knowing we don't have a lot of time to do this. With exactly 1 minute and 48 seconds, with only a minute 54 on the clock, he must make this cap work.
And A. Martin's down. That was fast. Minute and 37 seconds for Penguin Mafia to get this one, put a point on the board, or for the Cunninghams to close out Cliff in a 4-0 series, one battle away from taking this match. Comp still staying in the same spot, though, but if he moves to try to engage that T-37, he will be exposing himself to some enemy fire. More shots traded towards Militant 83. None of them land. Oh, one of them does.
There we go.
Straight shot coming from Armor.
Laxbra can actually put out some serious DPM. This T-37 fires very quickly, and the damage does add up after a very short time. Laxbra, I think, is responsible for quite a bit of the damage this match so far, when there is actually the push. Armor moving up, Canadian Mono as well, and they're focusing on Commander J.
Comps now having to get close to get the reset, and Canadian Cracker takes down Commander J. Germ takes a hit. Penguin Mafia starting to sweep in. They think they have the overmatch with 7 against 5. They do. They still need to watch themselves from that T-49 from up top. Germ and Trireme hanging back. Germ gets hit. Trireme able to dodge one shot. Germ's down. Trireme still on the run. 37 seconds for Trireme to try to dodge all the tankers here. Comps takes down Blaze Zero. I'll follow Trireme as Penguin Mafia is on the chase.
And I'm going to follow Dodoma up top with Militant 83 as Scrublet tries to approach. Because they're on top of this lighthouse with only 20 seconds left, there's a good chance now that Penguin Mafia is not going to be able to get the win here.
Big shot coming from Canadian Mono. Jumps right into Trireme, hits him on the side. Trireme turns around, but Canadian Mono gets the shot and the kill. 3 tanks still left alive here for Cunninghams with 3 seconds left. Can they hold out 1 second? And they can. Cunninghams get the battle victory.
Nice play. Just playing the clock. That's all they did. They knew, all right, they're going to put a little pressure on us, yeah, but we've got the clock on our side. That's how we'll salvage this one. If it had gone longer, if there wasn't the time limit that we have, there is a chance, a really good chance Penguin Mafia was going to win that. Otherwise, not really.
Yeah,
that was not looking good in the extended game, but that doesn't matter. We have 7 minutes. That's all they get.
What set the tone at the very beginning was Trirene getting lit up on the western side. So he has to move from his position. He trades spots with the RU-251 that goes up on the side of the hill. And then once they turn the corner, Penguin Mafia turns the corner and starts engaging up top, and Comps is trying to cover the flag cap. They could have destroyed Trirene if they fully committed, but if they did, they would have been jacked up pretty hard from those tanks up on the lighthouse. I'm really liking the enemy knowledge, both teams' knowledge of how to play Cliff. I feel that teams have changed a lot because of the changes to Cliff itself.
I think the Cunninghams have a strong understanding of it. They certainly understand the importance of the lighthouse. They place a lot of importance on that, as opposed to other teams like Penguin Mafia, who seem to think that the lighthouse is cool, but not the end-all to the map, in which might not be true. You can do strats which counter out the hill, or which work very well against hill strats, but the hill certainly is the center of the map. It's the point upon which you can control everything. You have a beautiful vantage point from the very top. You can shoot from both caps. You can fire upon most of the enemy positions that I can think of that matter. Yeah, just a solid position. I can't think of anything better on that map, which is just more effective than a tank on top of that lighthouse.
So now the map's going to change to Himmelsdorf, which is the city map. Ruinberg is a little bit half and half. This type of play coming from Cunninghams with a T-49 was very impressive. Now how do they switch over to a city map? Is it whoever's using the T-49 to Doma, does he switch to an IS-3? Does he move to a 5100?
He's good on both.
He is good on both.
Yeah.
But that's a type of roles that we'll see a lot of these individual tankers engage in. And the fantasy website, fantasywgl.com, which you want to go to put your fantasy team together, will measure the performance of these individual tankers. And we can measure with our data as well with the replays. But I want to look at those patterns of who is choosing what and how is that translating from the open maps to the city maps.
Yeah, we'll see probably Dodoma in one of those 5100s, IS-3s, I expect. We'll probably see A. Martin taking up one of the Tier 7s, maybe Tier 6 if they decide on that, but I doubt that Cunningham's the Tier 6 kind of team. Penguin Mafia might be the kind of team to bring a Tier 6 tank, but I think Cunningham's are a little bit more conventional in that sense.
Yeah, and real quickly, too, for any new viewers that we have, 7x54 means 7 players and 54 tier points. Each of these tanks has a specific tier point value in World of Tanks. You have 1 to 10. The cap, the highest amount you can have for an individual tank is 8, and when you have 7 players, it's 54 points. So there's 2 different lineups you can have. That's 6 tier 8s and 1 tier 6, or 5 tier 8s and 2 tier 7s.
Exactly. Now, real quick, let's get into the battle because this is interesting. Okay, the Cunninghams will be the defenders. The defenders, everyone, they are the blue team. But they are bringing 3 5100s, 2 IS-3s, an IS, and a T-29. Like I said, conventional lineup. The other side, Penguin Mafia, the attackers, by the way. I really do need to stress this. They are the attackers, and they're bringing a KV-4, a T-32, an AMX AC-48. I don't even know. 2 waffles, an SU-101, and a T-37. This is... All right, I'm just... Okay.
All right, I'll cover it. It's okay.
I'm done. I'm done.
They broke Rookhill.
AC... Really?
Well, look at their approach. They're going up on the hillside. Maybe this tank destroyer is going to be covered, both of them. Trying to fight from up top, even though there's going to be no real shots possible.
Penguin Mafia, don't. Please.
No.
Canadian Motto doesn't even have camo. Doesn't even have camo.
Well, let's see how this is going to play out,
I don't think he
folks.
prepared for this.
This is a treat for all of us here.
Oh, gosh. This many tank destroyers. What is the world coming to?
Well, if there's a time to experiment when you're down 0-4.
Josh, this game is World of Tanks, not World of Tank Destroyers.
You got to reach down deep. You got to do something a little bit tricky sometimes. Here we go.
This is...
Red team, the attackers, pushing up and now rolling down the hill.
Oh, God.
You know, those tank destroyers could be the front and center, the tip of the spears to move down these.
They will be the support fire, please.
Right.
I hope they are. The KV-4 tip of the spear, T-32 tip of the spear, sure. I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
All right.
Everything else, I'm not.
Just the amount of armor at the front. Of course, the KV-4 and the T-32 maybe I'd rather have out there.
Yeah, the SU-101, the armor's kind of okay, a little tricky sometimes. The AC-48, yeah, sometimes you get bounces, but it's the waffles, man. They don't have anything called armor. They're paper.
We look at this prepared positioning coming from Commander Jay and Comps, right around the corner, ready to stop any movement towards their flag cap from the red team. It's up to ping. Oh, one shot is able to hit A. Martin for 420. Another shot whizzed right past him.
All right, I'm looking down range from where these waffles are right now. No shots on any targets, and that was a thin shot, by the way, on the IS. Incredibly thin shot.
And a shot fired towards Milton 83 does not connect. Still looking for the pattern of engagement here. Another shot.
Dirt.
Another connection. And the KV-4, Canadian Mono's going to push. T-32 fires into the building. And they have made their stance known. Well, look at this positioning, though, coming from the long-range tank destroyers. They're going to try to punish those tanks moving around the corners. Comps and A. Martin here to stop. Oh, shots fired towards Milton 83. 218.
Still having trouble connecting. He's just such a difficult target, and they're just going for it. But they're not making those connections. Militant shells are exploding all around him, and the flank is moving in. Blaze Zero is surprisingly in a good hull down.
Look at Lax on the T-37. He's able to see these tanks from the D line above the courtyard moving in.
Ah, kind of like the Tiger was in some of our strats. You see at the fountain instead.
Just further back on the Gulf line.
Yeah.
Well, this could be a very difficult hold for the attackers now to try to hold on this flag cap. Big shot against Milton 83, though. Another one, 504 in that volley. The Commander Jay and Triroom are going to push up, try to get behind the T-32 and the KV-4. Another shot against Milton 83. And now Comp's going to push up.
This is going to get rough for Commander Jay as he goes around the corner. Oh, no. Smart move from Commander Jay. He is in the perfect spot to avoid taking fire from these tank destroyers while he puts fire onto Blaze Zero and KV-4. But now he peeks out. Shots fired 679 into him.
Well, the tank destroyers are now going to push up to try to deal with that. Laxfar on the T-37 moving up to engage as well. Still putting a lot of fire pressure on this flag cap. Canadian Cracker pushes up, and Laxsprout from behind the T-37 gets the kill against Commander Jay. Martin Comps still engaging against the T-32 in the IS-3. Canadian Mono falls. And the rest of Penguin Mafia now pushing in. Armor takes down Trireme. A. Martin, low, gets hit again by the T-32. Comps takes down the T-32. And the IS of A. Martin is hit on the side. And one more shot and he could fall.
This is amazing. I'm so surprised that the tank destroyers are actually keeping up in a way. But in a moment, I'm expecting the lack of armor and hit points to kind of come back at him. Triumph looking for a target.
And also in a moment when Dodoma's fully loaded. He is right behind these tanks. Ooh, Comps took a big hit there. Milton 83 barely left alive. A. Martin gets the kill against Canadian Cracker. Here comes the T-37. The T-37 moving up against Militant. Misses the one shot. Takes a hit from Milton, turns the corner. There's a lot of tanks ready for Laxbra. Can Laxbra get the kill? He does. But from behind, Dodoma's going to land a number of shots in the 5100 along with Germ.
All right, now it is Scrublet and armor. Not a lot of health, not a lot of armor. Armor, yeah, not a lot of him.
Not a lot of him. Dodoma gets that kill. Scrublet, last tank alive for Penguin Mafia. Pushes up, and he goes down, and that's it. Clean sweep. Cunninghams take the series 5-0 against Penguin Mafia.
And Penguin Mafia, that was crazy, the last one there. I think that was reaching right there. That was reaching for something and kind of falling because that's a big jump.
But the fight was still left in him. And if there's any time to do something a little bit crazy, if everything else isn't working, it's when you are up against the ropes.
I think what happened in comms, though, is they said, you know what? Let's just, I don't care. Pick whatever you want. I'm going to pick a tank destroyer. I'm going to pick a tank destroyer. I'm going to pick a different tank destroyer. That happened. Then they started dealing damage and it started going okay. And then they decided to have the fight go.
But look at the pattern of attack. Slow moving approach coming from the hillside, moving together as a team. T-37 hangs back to cover any type of flank. Flank moves in, but Dodoma finds that perfect spot. Or the tank, Commander J finds that perfect spot to start dealing damage against the T-32 and the IS-3.
Okay.
That forces the tank destroyers to move in. So now they're fully engaged. I feel that against a non-veteran team, this would have been an effective strategy. But
okay, yeah, I think it could have against a team that
because
wasn't...
it's so out there, right? It is such a fringe-type lineup that they think, what are they going to do with this? Going to play a long-range game. No, they're playing for complete flag coverage.
Okay, I can see that, and I saw how the lanes with the tank destroyers was meant to cover the T-32 and the KV-4, but it still felt like it didn't have as much coverage as it should.
Sure.
The Waffles had a blind spot. Commander J found it without even having to experiment with the blind spot immediately. He didn't go out too far immediately. He just stopped in the right spot, knew the angles, and it was easy. That's the problem I have. The solutions to the problem that was presented by Penguin Mafia was too easy to solve. It was cool in a way. It was surprising. It was out there, but it was too easy.
I think with more refinement and more experimentation similar to this tank lineup and how they approach the flag cap, I think this could be a strategy that maybe is not as popular, used every single time. But I enjoyed this a lot because it shows the power of how 7x54 is different by adding these type of different lineups.
You're right. It was innovation. It was different. Yes. I'll give it that.
Yes.
In the future, it could work. But
I think that the key is one of the tank destroyers and that T-37 working together to cover the G line.
Maybe that. And I think different tank destroyers, there's a new British one coming out, which after playing on the test server, I think would be a stronger choice than a Waffle. I really think it's got a big tall turret, but that doesn't hurt so much. The Waffle isn't exactly a tiny target either, and neither are most other tank destroyers, but the new British tank destroyers and the Firefly line. Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Heard about that.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and recap the matches that happened tonight. First off, it was Full Potato versus Simply Irresistible. Close series and a tiebreaker. Simply Irresistible took the win. Full Potato will get 1 point. Simply Irresistible will take home 2 points. I Love Lamp fell to Hammer Time 5-2. Clean sweep for Simple Tankers against Timeout. That was 5-0. Another clean sweep. Cunninghams taking down Penguin Mafia, even though a lot of the engagers are a little bit closer for that second matchup. We'll try to have a recap for some of the other matches that happened that were not on the broadcast, but really, really impressed by those T-49s. And then here we go. It looks like still waiting on the Fun Gaming versus Victoria's Secret matchup.
Yeah,
RBIS,
that's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be tomorrow. RBIS taking down Elevate 5-0. Simp 5-2 against Top Tier, and then Roulette versus Noble will happen off stream as well. We'll get you those results at the beginning of next week. Very impressive Dodoma play in the T-49, man. He's my standout star for tonight, MVP for tonight.
Yeah, I have to agree. Dodoma absolutely did a fantastic job. I want to point out Commander J from the Cunninghams was also very, very good. I liked the play in the last match.
No surprise there.
Yeah, the Cunninghams looks to be a team made of people who are very intelligent tankers.
Yes.
They know exactly what they're doing, and they know how to execute. I think this is their season. I think this is the season for the Cunninghams, especially after the way they performed tonight and seeing the individual players doing their jobs so excellently.
All right. We'll also see how Elevate is going to perform. A little bit of a rocky start this week, but they have some serious potential as well. The same for Penguin Mafia. There's so much that can happen at the very beginning of the season.
Yes.
We've been doing this since the very beginning, and so looking at some of these patterns here, we're seeing a lot of improvements from these teams across the board. Let's take a look at the standings overall for what's happened this week for all these teams. We have Simp, RBIS, Simple Tankers with 2 wins. Cunninghams with 1 win and a tiebreaker. Simply Irresistible, 2 tiebreaker wins. Hammer Time, 1 win, 1 tiebreaker loss. Noble Esports with 1 win. They'll be playing a little bit later tomorrow, actually. And Penguin Mafia with 1 win and 1 loss so far. Moving on, we have Roulette, tiebreaker win, 2 points. I Love Lamp, tiebreaker loss and a loss. Top Tier, timed out. Victoria's Secret, Bernal Empires, the number of losses here. And followed by Fun Gaming and Full Potato. Those are our 16 teams. And those tiebreaker losses, still tough.
Yeah, still tough.
They'll still get a point.
It's better than last season. I mean, a tiebreaker loss, you got nothing. This season, you get a little bit.
You get a little bit.
You
get 1 point. And those standings will update with those 1 points at the end of the week. Let's take a look at what matches we're going to be seeing when we come back live on Tuesday. That's going to be RBIS versus Top Tier, followed by Fun Gaming versus Elevate, Roulette versus Victoria's Secret, and Simp versus Noble. That first matchup is going to be good.
Simp versus Noble. Simp versus Noble. That is the one I want to see because Noble looks good, but I want to know how good they actually are. And Simp, if there's a team